What's up, guys? Happy Friday. We're in the show. It's Kelly, myself, and I was going to say it, but we don't want to get him on a tangent. But Ben Mintz, how are we feeling? Let's start with Ben. Ben, how are we feeling today? Is
Right,
today a little
first
bit better?
football Friday of the year. I mean, I don't know. Week 0 is a weird thing because it feels like preseason games, but they count on the scoreboard. And after a long summer, that's a good thing. So ready for some football. Probably hadn't been my favorite week I've ever had, but I think we're coming out all right.
Probably hasn't been my favorite week I've ever had. Sorry, I'm still on Twitter. That made me laugh, Mince. Thank you. I needed that today.
There's been quite a few things on Twitter that have been rather funny today.
Oh God, no. You already made me gag twice today. I don't want to talk about it. No, please, next. Can we talk about the SEC? I'd much rather do that, Megan.
Let's go ahead because we are going to try to stick to that sweet spot of 30 minutes to make sure that we're not boring anyone or, getting out of the box too far. So let's go ahead and start. Let's start with Bama being minus 190, almost a full $2 to win the SEC. Their win total is set at 11.5. Obviously, we heard Saban say last year was a rebuilding year, which is almost offensive to every other fucking college in college football because they still went like 11-1 last season. Pretty ridiculous, but I think that this is the right team to be favorited this year. You have still have Bryce Young, you still have Will Anderson. Things are just going to go up for this Bama team. Nick Saban is using SEC championship trophies as doorstops. He wants to go back for the Natty. I personally will not be taking Bama at 190 to win the whole thing, just because I would like for there to be more upsets and more fun. But I do like the over 11.5 as far as the win total because I'm getting plus money on Nick Saban being able to blow through his schedule. I like Bama over 11.5 here for their win total. Kelly, what do you think about the Crimson Tide this season? Nick Saban is pushing 70, and then pop it down to Mintzy.
Part of me is like, just don't overthink this one. Megan, I'm never going to bet on Alabama this year unless it's a scenario like we saw last year in the SEC championship game. You're always paying a premium. Why? Because we've said it before. Bama does not rebuild. They just reload. So yes, Saban wanted to use that excuse last year, and it was a dickhead line. That being said, I don't see a reason for me to bet against them winning a second straight conference title. I know we'll get to Georgia here in a second, and maybe we can find a couple of sleeper teams that maybe could give Bama a run for their money. But as of right now, I'm not going to bet on Bama's season win total. I'm not going to bet on Bama week to week. I'm going to find my spots here probably to bet against them, like you guys have seen me do in the past. And we'll go from there.
True contrarian. Ben Mintz, what do you think about Bama this year?
I mean, I think they're going to dominate and be the best team. And right when they lost the national title game last year, I'm just like, well, everybody's just screwed this year. And I think this is going to be a lot like 2020. I think there's a great chance they go undefeated too. I ain't laying no $1.90 though. There's no way I'm tying up money for 5 months laying a minus 190 on a future. I'm just not into all that. I do think they'll win the SEC though. I think the logic's there. I just don't want to risk that. They'll pay that kind of juice or premium. The win total, I don't blame you for liking the over. The only game I'm looking to bet Bama on the schedule this year is I know I'm going to have to pay a premium for it, but they are going to beat the shit out of Texas A&M on that rematch whenever they come to Tuscaloosa. That one's going to be triple starred. And, I mean, A&M has definitely got young talent, but they're not ready to go into Tuscaloosa. And, that may be a game I look to take Bama, but I kind of agree with what Kelly's saying. You just got to pay too much to do it. And I do think they're going to go undefeated, so I don't blame you for taking over 11.5, but it's hard to bet on perfection.
It is hard to bet on perfection, but I feel like if there's anyone that has shown a staple of what perfection should look like, it's Mr. Nick Saban. So yeah, am I taking a risk at betting the win total over here? Sure, because they have to go undefeated. But looking at the schedule, think that they can do it, and I'm getting plus money. Up next, national champion winners, Georgia at plus 175 to win the conference. Their win total is sitting at 11.5. I am not as high on Georgia as I was last year. I don't think this is like a repeat type of year for Georgia. I do think that they're still going to be extremely strong. I think that they're going to get the job done. I don't think that they're going to hit that win total at 11.5. I was looking at the under, but I'm not paying minus 195, as Mintz mentioned, as for a future. Minus 195, especially on an under, just won't do it for me. But I want to hear your thoughts, Kelly, on what you think about this defending national champion and what you think that they're going to do this year.
Yeah, Megan, this is a Georgia team that, if you remember, I picked them to win the Natty. They did. I bet against them a couple of times last year, and I have a couple of games circled. My problem is this: at Mississippi State, and that is the one, and I don't want to even say his name, so I'm not going to, but at Mississippi State is circled. That right there is going to be the determining factor, and depending on how they play there, and then the next week going to Kentucky. I think both those teams are going to be really sneaky in the SEC this year. I absolutely think this Georgia Bulldogs team could go undefeated, play Bama in the SEC championship game once again. I'm not going to bet on it.
Going to happen. I think this is obviously the SEC championship right here. It's Georgia.
In theory, it is, right? I would love to see it not. Like you said, I want to see upsets. I want to see chaos. I want to see crazy things happen. And that's why I'm going to take a couple shots with a couple of these other teams. The biggest problem with this Georgia team, and yes, they're returning 7 guys on offense, but they lost so many national championship starters to the
15,
NFL.
Right? I think it's 15, and then they had lost 8 defensively.
Yeah, and their defense is only returning 3 guys. That's like one of the fewest in FBS. That's my one caveat with this Georgia Bulldogs team, and that is keeping me from placing any bets until a weekly bet late in November.
Ben, what do you think about the Georgia Bulldogs? Do you think that they're going to be anything like they were last year? Or do you think
I think they're going to win the East, but I don't think they're going to be near as good as they were last year. I would lean under 11.5. Even looking at their schedule, like you look at it and you think, oh, they'll probably win these. Kelly's point about the Mississippi State at Kentucky back-to-back, I think is a very valid one because they do get Tennessee at home. They don't play Bama in the crossover this year, but they always play Auburn. That's a rivalry, even though Auburn looks down. But I don't think they're going to be as good either. I mean, I think when you look at Georgia, you lost 5 first-round picks on defense. I mean, that's just crazy. And, you look at their offense, and Bennett played great in the title game, and I know he's good. Brock Bowers is the tight end's best tight end in football. But they won because of that defense, truthfully. And I think it'll still be good. But like you said, only 3 returning starters. Like I think Georgia's going to go like 10-2 or 11-1 and win the SEC East. But I still don't think that's anywhere near what they were last year.
I would agree with that. I think it's a down year for Georgia, but a down year for Georgia still way better than 95% of other colleges. All right, up next you have Texas A&M, and I want to say, here we go again. Why the fuck are we getting so much hype around this team? Just like last year. Why? And someone needs to make it make sense because I've read through it. I get that they were absolutely killed it with the transfer portal, killed it in the offseason. I get they have all the pieces, they have the funding, they have the fans, they have the coaching, but yet they couldn't win last year. So what's going to change this year? Kelly, I think this might be your hot take. What's up with Texas A&M? Because I'm not a believer. I haven't been. Still think it's weird that they have male cheerleaders, whatever. It's up to you, though.
Oh, Megan. They're called yell leaders. Also, listen, this is an Aggies team that I don't fully understand. If you look at the AP top 25, this team that went 8-4 and finished 5th place in the SEC West last year.
Why do they have a number by their name?
It's supposed to be number 6 in the fucking country? No. What am I missing here? Texas A&M is the only team in that top 12 that didn't have 10 wins last year. I need Texas A&M to prove to me that they deserve to be there.
I'll eat the pro if they do, but I still think
they have 5 guys coming back on defense. And frankly, that defense was kind of what kept them in most of these games last year. I understand you mentioned the recruiting class, transfer portal. They had just absolutely crushed it. This is a big jump, Megan. And typically what I've seen when you are overhyped in the media world, it kind of goes to your head. And you better hope Jimbo Fisher's got his thumb down, locked tight, and got those guys remaining very humble, because asking them to win 2 or 3 more games than they did last year, I think is a little too much.
I think it's also a jump. Ben, do you think Kelly and I are out of our boxes?
Here's my A&M theory. I'm on a under 9 on them. I'm definitely taking it. I'll explain it.
It's the book wants you. It's minus 157 for the under.
Well,
I'm not.
I might move it to 8.5 to try to get a better price.
Okay.
You
I
can
don't.
kind
I
of
don't
move
hate
it and
that.
play with it.
Yeah.
Like if you move it to 8.5, I'm not sure what the number is, but maybe that would be
I can go
smart.
check.
But let me tell you why I like under 9. There's no chance in hell they're winning the game in Tuscaloosa this year. Literally, like it ain't happening.
I'm not sure that they can even win the game at Mississippi State.
Well,
I think
here's my point, Kel. Like I was
Miami's going to
explain.
be a tough beat for them, and that's in College Station.
Well, here's the thing with it overall. So let's hypothetically say, okay, they lose at Alabama. The rest of their schedule, they have 2 joke games. They play like Sam Houston and UMass.
Yeah.
Every other game, they have App State at home non-conference. Yeah, they'll probably win, but it's not a joke. They got Miami at home, and then they got the SEC West and the SEC schedule. So they have 2 easy wins on that schedule. And if they're going to beat you, if you take under 9, they've got to go 10-1 in every game this year that's not at Alabama. Like just call Bama a loss. They got to go 10-1 against the rest of that schedule to beat you. I'm willing to risk that.
Also,
they lost to both Ole Miss and State last year. I think they're going 8-4 again.
do they even have a quarterback? Aren't they?
They're trying to. Well, I mean, they've got your boy Max Johnson who's going to start.
Yeah, I know, but they have like 3 that they haven't decided. Like
I was going to say, have they announced a starter yet? Maybe I'm behind.
No, they hadn't, but I think they're leaning Max. Is what I'm.
Yeah, but my thing is, it's like they have you literally have 3 quarterbacks. You just like you have 2, you have none. Like I feel like for this team to be priced like this, they should have had a starter named or someone coming back, something to give us some cohesivity that's like worth 9 games, but there's not. And so I think we're all in agreement on that. Let's move on to
the quick thing on A&M I do want to say. Their recruiting class is ridiculous. These freshmen are great. I think if they get the quarterback thing figured out next year, I'm not going to be bagging on them at this point.
Yeah,
I would agree
really
with
think
that.
they're built for 2023.
I would agree with that.
I'm in as well. Let's go ahead and move on to Mr. Ben Mintz's love of the game here. Let's talk all things Ole Miss. They're plus 4,000 to win the SEC, and their win total is sitting at 8. You have a coach that has been barking a big game, Ben Mintz. What do you think Ole Miss is capable of this season?
I think 8's. I mean, 8's the exact. I've got Ole Miss going 8-4. 8's the exact number. When you look at this team, the schedule is so weak early. I mean, first 4 are you got Troy, Central Arkansas, and a horrible Georgia Tech team, Atlanta, and Tulsa. That's your September. You get to 4-0.
And then you get to come to me in October, big boy.
What's up? Well, yeah, we're getting there first. But Kentucky, I'm going to the Kentucky game. The Kentucky game October 1st is going to be an insane weekend.
Yeah, it'll be great, though, but it's also homecoming. And that's something to note there, to have that circled.
Yeah, well, Kentucky game, 2-year anniversary almost to the day of the Kentucky game with the video that got me hired. So, but can't wait for that. But it's Kentucky at home, which is a huge swing game. I think Ole Miss can win. I actually think we'll get to Kentucky in a minute, but I think they're a little overrated. Then you got at Vandy and then Auburn at home, who could be weak. Ole Miss could be 6-1 or 7-0 heading to Baton Rouge October 22nd and still not know how good they are. And then it goes at LSU, at A&M, Bama, at Arkansas, Egg Bowl.
That's a fucking gauntlet if I've ever.
Yeah, it is.
I kind of see. I think I see Ole Miss being like 6-1. I think if you got to be realistic, 1-3 in that 4-game gauntlet, I think is very fair with 3 tough road games in Bama. So I'm hypothetically, I think 8 or 9. Like I think 6-1 start. We'll say maybe 7-0. You go 1-3 in that tough stretch against 4, and then you win the Egg Bowl at home. So I think 8's the right number. As far as the team goes, they still haven't named a starting quarterback. I think it's going to be Jackson Dart. The offensive line looks really good. Ole Miss had one of the top rushing attacks in the SEC last year. Really, both transfer running backs, Zach Evans from TCU and Ulysses Bentley from SMU, are proven they're really good. So I feel good about the running game. Feel good about the secondary. Got questions about the run defense. It still was like 97th last year. Also got questions about the new defensive coordinator hire. It's just an unknown. He might end up being good, but you lost DJ Durkin, who was spectacular last year, and now he's at A&M. So I think they're going to be good, but I don't see 10 wins again for sure, unless something. I mean, that's going to be awfully hard.
Um,
Yeah, I'm with Mintz. I basically could echo everything he just said. I'm definitely concerned with the quarterback situation. Both brand new coordinators on both sides of the ball. This was a team that I thought superseded expectations last year. I had the over if you bet those at the Barstool Sportsbook with me. This was one of my biggest bets last year. It was great. Got to cash it pretty easily. Uh, love Lane Kiffin, but this year is just a straight pass for me unless I see otherwise.
Yeah,
and
I agree. I just
speaking, go ahead, Ben.
I was just saying I'm not concerned about the new offensive coordinator thing with Charlie Weiss because Kiffin helps run the offense. It's the defensive coordinator situation. Durkin left. Kiffin hired his brother, Chris Kiffin, who used to be the Ole Miss D-line coach. He's the Cleveland Browns D-line coach. Chris comes back for 6 weeks and says, the hell with this, and went back to Cleveland. And so when Ole Miss hired a Western Kentucky coach to be their defensive coordinator now, so will co with Chris Partridge. But, like, just unproved. I don't know. I mean, hopefully he's good. I don't know. I don't know. But that's definitely something I'm concerned about.
Well, Kelly, you were talking about how you got to cash that Ole Miss over pretty easily. And I want to make sure I'm telling everyone where we're putting our money. And it's obviously in Skrill because Skrill is the best digital wallet for gamblers because it was built for gamblers. Sophisticated gamblers like us three use it to manage our bankrolls, whether we're playing games like poker or betting on sports. You can manage the bankroll using the wallet, which allows you to pay instantly and securely. It's payments without limits, basically. You can access your bankroll with instant deposits and withdrawals and also draw cash using your prepaid card, which, as I've mentioned, is my favorite part. Who doesn't like to get out their cash after a win? Let's just say Skrill is the best digital wallet you can use for sports betting. So it's a no-brainer to create your free account right this instant. Make sure you go sign up at skrill.com/barstool. That is skrill.com/barstool to create your free account and complete the account verification by clicking follow the game after registering so that you can start using your digital wallet today. So don't forget about Skrill. Make sure you head on over there, skrill.com/barstool, follow the game, verification code, instantly use your wallet. All right, now that we've gotten through Ole Miss, let's go ahead and talk about Big T, old Rocky Top, Tennessee. I'm seeing this team at like 7 wins, maybe 8 if I'm not a homer, but I do think that LSU will continue to take games in fucking Death Valley because that's just what we do. Go ahead, Kelly. What do you think about this Tennessee team?
Listen, Megan, if I'm looking at this schedule right here, just blindly, do I think they can win 9 games? Sure. They should start off the season 3-0. Ball State at Pittsburgh, Akron, Florida, which we haven't talked about yet. We'll get to here in a minute. At LSU, no offense, you guys will be a home underdog there. And then they do the typical SEC team thing where they play some no name late in the season. UT Martin at South Carolina, at Vanderbilt to finish off the season. Sure. Could this team win 9 games? Sure, on paper. But I also think they could easily go in the opposite direction. I do think Tennessee is on the rise, and I do think that they have lots of potential. But this is not a Tennessee Volunteer team under Josh Heupel that I think is great. And because they are in that middle of the road tier in the toughest conference in America, not maybe the toughest division, but definitely the toughest conference, I think they'll finish second or third in the SEC East. I haven't decided if I think Florida's better than them or not yet. Just kind of looking at my notes.
First game with Napier. I got to see how he has those guys rolling.
And I know we'll get to them here in a minute, but this is Tennessee is kind of just like a big circled question mark. And that's like I said, because I could see them winning 9 games, absolutely. But I could also see them losing 4.
I think Tennessee. I think the most fascinating thing in the SEC debate right now is who's number 2 in the East with Tennessee, Florida, and Kentucky. Because you make a case for all 3 of them if you want. I'm kind of buying the Tennessee thing. I think Josh Heupel. I feel like they've really struggled for years with an identity, and I think Heupel's up-tempo, fast-paced offense has actually given them something that like they know what they are.
I can agree with that.
They didn't know what the hell they were doing with Pruitt or Butch Jones at all. And I feel like Hendon Hooker, if he stays healthy, could really have a big year in that offense. I mean, I thought he played well last year, so I'm not all in on Tennessee by any means, but I'm saying I think they're going to be the second best team in the East. I think the offense is going to be that good. I think I think it's going to be really muddled with them all kind of beating each other. So I've got Tennessee. I'll say 8-4, but still that is enough to get second in the East.
All right. So we've already went through Tennessee.
Their defense still, though, a lot more questions than answers there.
All right, so let's move on to Kentucky, which it seems like, Ben, you're a little down on this year. This Kentucky program has just been quietly and steadily building. Last season, they were really getting into a groove, whether it be on the ground or in the air or defensively. Levi Lewis really made a home for himself there. He's going to
Will Levis, you mean?
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. My fault. Yes.
No worries.
But then they have a solid transfer from Bama that I do know is going to be. His name is escaping me right now. I should have written it down. It's going to be absolute studly, and if you get anyone from Bama, that's just like a nice little, back pocket card that you can pull out at any time. I think this Kentucky is going to keep on. I think they're going to keep on rolling. I have them. Hold on, sorry, 7.5. I think I have them right at 7. I think that they could maybe get to 8. But like again, just kind of like Tennessee and how Ben mentioned, there's just like that 3 group where I'm just not sure what dog is gonna fight out of the top. Since you kind of sounded down on Kentucky, let's start with you, Ben. Why don't you like Kentucky this season?
Well, I mean, Downs a relative term. I think they're still going to win 7 games and keep having a solid program year after year. People are just acting like they're a little more than they are, and a lot of it's just the Will Levis hype. I mean, he's the guy that when he gets off the bus or he throws at the combine, he's 6'3" or 6'4". He's got the big arm, so he's got all the the stuff pro scouts are going to drool over. But then when you break down, I'm more of a numbers metrics guy than just like an on the cuff looking at the guy kind of. And I mean, he threw for 200 yards in one SEC game last year. Like, I mean, you're looking at Wan'Dale Robinson was a one-man gang for them last year. He's a second-round pick for the Giants. They lost him. I do like their front 7 on defense, but I think their secondary looks real shaky. And so I think their defense is a little overrated. Craig Rodriguez, they got a good running back, but it looks like he's going to be suspended, I believe, the first 3 or 4 games of the year.
I did read that. I totally make that. I think that's why my notes are so jumbled, because I think I went to go write something and then scratched out. I totally forgot about their running back.
My biggest thing, okay, so week 2, Kentucky goes to Gainesville. And to me, my instincts are saying kind of like who knows what will happen with Florida against Utah in the Napier first game. But like Kelly, I'm certainly not quite on your level gambling, but like contrarian-wise, I could see Utah beating Florida and then Florida beating Kentucky right when people write Florida off. I can like see that combo like almost coming, if that makes sense.
Well, you have to remember that's a big revenge factor, Mintz, for last year. Kentucky helped me catch one of those 3-team moneyline parlays by upsetting this same Florida team. So yeah. I'm sure Florida has this one circled. Look, if Kentucky wins 10 games, Mark Stoops is going to find a new job. I mean, this man has done a really good job in Lexington. My friend's dad used to coach in Lexington when we were in high school.
Where do you think he would go? I think Auburn.
Would he go to Florida State?
I think both of those are actually very feasible options. Wow. Yeah, I think he could go to either. So I don't know if Kentucky fans really want Mark Stoops to win 10 games or not. Last year, they got it done. What I love about certain coaches, Megan, is where the floor is here and the ceiling's not much higher, right? And then they supersede all of it. The expectation levels are low. They're going to pick off some games as underdogs. And I love that. And that's what Mark Stoops does, probably because he's a Bill Snyder coaching tree guy, right? And when you can do less with more, I'm very impressed. I agree with Mintz. The running game in Kentucky is going to be absolutely solid. But I definitely have my concerns at Florida, at Ole Miss, at Tennessee are not going to just be some easy wins for them, right? They don't have any hard road wins necessarily. They do get Georgia at home, but they're still going to be sizable underdogs there. I think this team can easily win 8 games, but I'm not sure I want to get to the window with it. And that's just because I said Tennessee, Florida, and Kentucky, I think, are the 3-horse race for second place in the East. And I'm not definitive on which one's actually going to get to the finish line first. And that's kind of my issue. So I'm looking at Kentucky. I've got a couple of games circled. As I mentioned, but for Florida, that revenge game is going to be rather interesting. And at Ole Miss, I think is going to be a really solid game.
That's the big swing game for Ole Miss too. I mean, that's
so right now, both of you like Tennessee better than you do Kentucky this season.
Yes.
I would say the next team we talk about is probably true, like it literally goes 2A, 2B, 2C. I would say it goes Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky for me. But these are slim margins, Megan. There's not. I could change on a dime with given just a little piece of information. I mean, that's how close those three are to me.
Okay, but as odds goes, the next one up is Arkansas, who was very scary last season. Just came out of basketball as well. I mean, Arkansas just did their thing last season. I'm not sure if there was something.
Final Four baseball too.
Yeah, and baseball. I don't know if there's something in the Arkansas water right now.
Yeah, Fayetteville's on the up and up.
But I mean, shit. I mean, KJ Jefferson just had, had made himself an absolute monster at Arkansas, and just like that Arkansas team just kept pounding and pounding and pounding. It seemed like they never quit all season last season, and I feel like we're still going to get that same energy from Arkansas. And Arkansas is always going to be, not always, but right now it's going to be scary. It's just like you never know what spots Arkansas is going to decide to go off on or in. And right now, I want to say that I was looking at the over. Yeah, I was looking at the over 7. It was minus 125, I believe, or is that? No, it's minus 134. So it's not crazily priced. But I think this Arkansas team is just going to stay steady under the radar until we just see them just start beating teams, and we're like, wait, Arkansas is good again, or they're good still. What do y'all think about Arkansas as far as the season goes? Do you think that they stay at the consistency that they were last season? Do you see a drop off, or do we see an increase?
I have my concerns with them on the defensive sides of the ball, Megan. They're only returning 4 starters. They benefit from a really easy SEC schedule too. They're going to be favored over Cincinnati, South Carolina, Missouri State. Then they're going to be probably a slight underdog in Arlington A&M. They get Bama at home. They're at Mississippi State, at BYU, at Auburn. That 3-game stretch is about as tough as it's going to get for the Hogs. I mean, Sam Pittman's done a really excellent job. They get LSU, Ole Miss at home, and then on my birthday, they got to finish up with freaking Missouri. Like, come on, this is going to be.
Why are you just saying Missouri?
That's how you say it. It's Missouri or Misery, whichever you prefer. That being said, it would be very hard for me to take the Arkansas under wins. It'd be very hard for me not to make a claim that Arkansas and their only loss might be Alabama. I mean, in theory, they're not going to be big underdogs at Auburn. They're not going to be big underdogs at Mississippi State, and they're probably going to be close to a pick'em at BYU. And Mintz's face is frozen, or else he's just been making that face at me for a really long time.
I'm just on a really different wavelength on Arkansas than y'all are.
Listen, I didn't want to be that high in Arkansas. I'll be really honest with you. I did not do a deep dive. I started looking at my notes again with this team, and I'm going, holy shit, can this team win 10 games? I kind of wonder if they could.
I feel like we have different opinions of their schedule because they play the SEC West and they play Cincinnati at home and at BYU. I do agree that getting Missouri and South Carolina is probably, that's certainly nice as far as your East crossover not being any of the top 4 teams. But damn, the whole West and at BYU, I think is a loss. That's a brutal road game. I don't know why they scheduled that. I don't know what to think of week 1 against Cincinnati, but I do know Luke Fickell will have a hell of a game plan in there. What Arkansas does have that's great, got to give them credit. They might have the best offensive and defensive coordinator combo in the country. Kendall Briles and Barry Odom, spectacular. If Kendall Briles' last name wasn't Briles, he'd be a huge P5 head coach right now.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just the Briles last name and being part of the Baylor thing has him.
By the way, if you haven't looked into that, you should actually read some of the court proceedings and shit. I kind of almost feel like Art Briles got Manti-Teo'd in a different way.
Really?
Kind of do. I kind of feel like he's the guy that had to fall on the sword. Just saying.
I thought you were saying he got tricked. I was like, wait, did I not hear about that? Do you have all?
It's not good. Art Briles had some really crazy accusations, and now he's back to coaching high school football.
A few things on Arkansas. Treylon Burks, first-round pick of the Titans, was so unbelievable at receiver last year. And I think he propped up KJ Jefferson as well as Kendall Briles' scheme. I'm not as high on KJ Jefferson, especially as a passer. He's a good runner, though. So I'm curious about that. You mentioned them not having a lot of starters back. They're great at, Ole Miss is never won in Fayetteville, I don't think, hardly. Maybe once. Right? It just feels like they just go there to die. But I feel like Arkansas could struggle on the road some. I mean, I would go. I would either say pass or under, but like no, I wouldn't. I don't see the 9 or 10 games possibility you're talking about at all.
Well, that's. I guess we'll just have to see what Arkansas can come up with. What if KJ Jefferson can actually get some offense going through the air instead of just being an absolute bull and just running through everyone. But let's move on to Florida. I know that we're kind of cutting time a little bit, so we'll try to keep it a little quicker here. I know we still have to get through Florida and LSU, so just bear with.
Megan's just canceling basically. Like she's acting like her team's not going to finish sixth in the SEC
Not.
West. So we still have to talk about them. I'm sorry, the SEC East. We still have to talk about them. But South Carolina, Missouri, and Vanderbilt in the SEC West, we're just going to forget all about.
Yeah, right now we are because we got a 30-minute time limit and we want to keep the people engaged. So let's
All
go
right,
ahead and
Florida. I'm going to tell you this right here. Florida is the biggest wild card team in the SEC this year. I
I'm cheering.
love Billy Napier. I love everything that he brings to Gainesville. I don't know if they're going to have immediate success, and that is my issue. That's why I said I thought that they could easily win 10 games and shock the world, and everybody would just be out of their minds. Last year, let me tell you, I cussed Dan Mullen up and down the field in Jacksonville when I was at the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And that was because he made a lot of bonehead mistakes, and including running a 2 quarterback system with AR-15. And I already forgot the other guy because guess what? AR-15 is now the starter in Gainesville. What you got to do is not mind fuck your own quarterbacks. And that's what Dan Mullen did. I'd like to see that defense be improved this year. And there's got to be some locker room, like, I don't know what's the right word, where they get everybody like super hyped, right? They've got
Like some zest, like some
anything because Dan Mullen just ruined all of that. Like everything I was hearing out of the locker room was just horrific last year. And, that team just imploded basically from the Georgia game on, just set them on fire. I remember I texted Megan and was like, "Hey, Megan, should I bet LSU 2 touchdown underdog at home?" And she's like, "Don't do it." And I didn't. And of course they beat the Gators because that's how far this team had fallen. Can they get right back up this year? I don't know, but I feel really good about Billy Napier. And again, everything I'm hearing out of Gainesville sounds awesome. We know
everything he didn't have it in Lafayette.
we know that Tony, his defensive coordinator, is an absolute beast. He should have this defense ready. Again, it might be that same kind of thing as what we just talked about with A&M. It may be a year or two. We're going to find out.
My thing with Florida, okay, I love the coaching staff. I love Napier. I think. What's up? Are we out of time? I just think Florida will be the second best program in the SEC very quickly. I don't know if it'll be this year. Their Anthony Richardson thing's interesting. They don't have any good receivers. It's going to be all about their running game. We'll see how that goes. In year one, I think they're going to beat Kentucky week 2. That's my hot take.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to LSU. My hot take is that LSU will actually be an 8 or 9 win team and not a 6.5 win team. I think we're going to beat Mintzy's Ole Miss Rebels. I think we're going to beat a lot more. I think we're going to lose to Alabama for sure. All I'm saying is 1 moment of silence for 15. Shout out Miles Brennan for giving everything to LSU and not getting anything in return. Still love you, kid. You're absolutely awesome. We have Jalen Daniels or Nussmeier who are going to be behind the ball, behind the helm. Right now, it's looking like Daniels just because he's had more reps. I'm really excited. Went from not being excited about this team to all of a sudden being extremely excited. I don't know when that happened. Maybe it was today whenever I was just looking at everything. Still have BJ Ojuwari, who is literally going to be the top 3 defensive player in the country.
Yeah, and if that whole defensive line can stay healthy, Megan, you're right. You guys could have a really solid team.
Yeah, basically. And I understand. I went from not being high on Kelly to now all of a sudden he's wearing himself on a gritty t-shirt. I'm all in. Let's go Tigers. I want to take the over 6.5, but it's minus 200 at this point. I think everyone's getting on that BK train. Everyone's getting on that Kayshawn booty train. I'm looking at Ben with an ugly look on his face. We're going
an ugly look for me. Don't worry.
Ass this year.
I think this is the thing. I think you need to keep your fandom just a little bit more realistic, because I do think Brian Kelly is inheriting a really great football team. Yeah. You got some questions health-wise, and you got to focus on beating Florida State week 1. If you don't beat Florida State week 1,
I'll be there to watch it.
I know you are, and I wanted to be there.
That's going to be really fun.
I think it's going to be a really good game. If you guys can get past Florida State, because let me tell you, I love to trash on Mike Norvell. If you guys lose to Mike Norvell, it's going to set a very, very bad precedence for the rest of the year. So focus on that. And then there's a couple of easy W's in there with Southern, New Mexico. At Auburn's always tough. At Florida is always tough. I try to get Megan to come to the Swamp for that game, and I may still, if LSU is got the pedal to the metal,
like I want them to. I'll make
you guys can easily be. You guys could easily be like a one-loss team at worst going into the Swamp, Megan. That could be really, really fun.
Ben, you don't think the LSU is going to be good this year?
No, I do. I didn't say. I think I don't know. My facial expression was a little stronger.
I literally thought you were frozen because you just gave me this like terrible look for 5 minutes.
No, I think LSU 7-5, maybe 8-4. I do think they're. I liked them over 6.5 until the juice got so bad. I took it I gave it out a couple months ago on Pick Central when it wasn't so bad.
Win total Wednesday. Shout out Pick Central.
If there's questions, the O-line, they've got some transfer. Look, Will Campbell, 5-star recruit, Monroe guy, started left tackle from day one. You got 2 guard transfers, one from East Tennessee State, one from Florida International. Got a lot of things that need to go right for that O-line to be a decent unit, and that's really been the unit that's let them. I mean, that O-line was atrocious last year. There ain't no cutting around it. Receiving core looks really good. D-line looks really good. Secondary was depleted, but they got a bunch of transfers, including a couple of Arkansas starters from last year. There were Louisiana guys that came back. Look, they don't have any of like those first-round DBs we're used to at LSU this year after Rick's transferred out to Bama, traitor to Louisiana. But I think they're going to be solid, and I have a lot of faith in the coaching staff. I think, getting the upgrade, and Lovo is a character, but the upgrade from Oda Kelly's massive, I think. And I also think House, the defensive coordinator, did a good job at Kentucky when he was there before he went to the Chiefs linebacker coach. So I feel pretty good about the staff, and I think they're going to beat Florida State and have a pretty good year. I think it's going to be one of those years where the fan base is going to be happy. They're going to be a little better than expected. They're doing well in recruiting, and it's going to build some momentum. But 9 wins, I think that's probably a stretch.
Well, that's my hot take, and I'm sticking to it. So we have about 4 more teams to roll through, but we're kind of out of time, so we're going to do a smash or pass. I'll go ahead and give you the win totals, and you guys can kind of give me a quick 40 seconds, and if you like them or if you don't. Auburn plus 1,500. Win total is sitting at 5.5. Over is minus 155. Kelly, smash or pass on Auburn?
I'm going to pass on this Auburn team, as we just mentioned, that Mark Stoops might be there next year. I don't know how much this team has as far as motivation-wise in the tank, so I got to pass.
I think under 5.5. I think the wheels could fall off if it starts going bad. I saw a report their AD maybe stepping down today.
Ooh,
there's a lot of weird stuff going on. They had a ton of people transfer out. If it starts out bad, it could go real bad, like 3-9 or 4-8.
I was also thinking that all they really have is JT Finley, and that's not saying a whole lot.
Yeah,
all right. Up next, Mississippi State. Smash or pass right now. I think it's a little scary because last year Leach was pretty much screaming from the rooftops, made a pirate ship, etc. Haven't really heard much from Leach in this off season. I'm gonna just pass altogether on Mississippi State, but I think they could be sneaky. And I definitely just don't want anything to do with them.
I definitely think it could be sneaky, Megan. They got 8 guys back on offense, 8 guys back on defense. I love Mike Leach. That's all I got to really say, though.
6.5, and the over's juiced to minus 177. I highly doubt you're taking the over on that game.
Yeah, no, this is another pass for me.
All right,
they got to play on the road. LSU, Kentucky, Bama, and Ole Miss, and Georgia. That sounds terrible. That's a terrible road schedule.
Agreed.
The thing with Leach, he's a good underdog. I think they're going to win. I think they go 7-5.
Yeah, and we'll find some spots to bet on them during the season. But as far as the season win total goes, I'm with you.
As for futures, let's pass. All right, Gamecocks, 6.5. I'm going to go ahead and look at the under. I think the under is minus 113. It's even on both sides. I don't think that anyone knows what they can really do this year. So asking them to win 7 games seems like a lot. That's just my personal. So I'm looking at the under here. Kelly, what do you think? And then kick it to Ben.
They got 9 starters back on offense, Megan. This team was so good to me last year. After I said that they were dead in the water, down 3 touchdowns, they came back and got the dub for me. I don't want to bash them right now. At Arkansas, week 2 is going to be not great. Then they turn right around and play Georgia. They could get just absolutely obliterated this year. Clemson's going to be a lot better. Home games, Mizzou, Tennessee. I feel bad for them. Hopefully, I can find an underdog spot to bet on them again this year.
I just the big thing's all the Spencer Rattler hype, and I don't believe in him. So
Yeah,
maybe I'll be proved wrong, but
I got to see otherwise. Let me
I
see what
agree.
he's got.
I just like you can have all the tools in the world. Like
Yeah,
he's the first quarterback that hadn't done good for Lincoln Riley in a long time. That's all.
I've already had to eat crow on Spencer Rattler once. I don't want to have to like throw it up, regurgitate it, then eat it again. So I'll just again pass.
Mintzy makes a really good point, though. If you do not just crush under Lincoln Riley, you might want to look in the mirror.
Maybe. All right. Speaking of looking in the mirror, last.
You're not going to talk about Mizzou?
Oh, I totally forgot about Mizzou. I don't even think I put.
Here's what I'll say this about Mizzou. We're all three going to be at the K-State Mizzou game in a couple of weeks. We hope to see you guys all there. Next team.
That's all we need to talk about. So be at the Mizzou game. Vandy 2.5 wins. I think that Hawaii might even get their first win against them here.
Yeah, I mean they're 9.5-point favorites, Megan. I'm sorry. I know Hawaii is a complete and utter rebuild, but this has just gotten out of control. Now I'm going to have to bet Hawaii. I don't even want to.
Yeah, I guess at what, +9 now? I got them 8.5. Shout out. Thank you.
Just wait. It's going to keep going up. It was 6 on Tuesday, 6.5. So it's going to keep going higher.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, final take on Vandy, and then we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, I think Vandy's going to beat Hawaii, but they ain't going to win many more.
Yeah, but they're going to go out there and smash.
Yeah, Hawaii's going through a lot of stuff.
Take the over. Nobody's going to play any defense. Take the over.
I like the Hawaiian Islands. I believe in the mysteriousness of the Big Island as Big.
The rainbow is going to bring them some luck.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that was our conclusion of the SEC. Sorry we ran a little bit long today. We'll be back on Monday. Not quite sure what we're doing yet, but we're about to get into actual picks with actual games where we can actually watch them on TV. Starting tonight or tomorrow, week 0, baby. Let's go. Look for picks out from me, Kelly, or Mintzy on our Twitters. Make sure you're signing up at skrill.com/barstool so you're putting all of your money there. And obviously activate your account with Go Follow the Game. We'll see you guys back on Monday. Mintzy, thank you for coming, and we were great to have you. I don't even know if that made sense. See y'all.
Always enjoyed it. Can't